this is Julia. Thank you so much for joining me on my craft room adventures. And today I'm back with day 15 of my 2020 holiday card series. This is another Challenge a Crafty Friend card with my friend Lien, and this time the theme was Christmas fun with a box card. So I decided to use the cute little houses from Winter Village by Fawn and also the Fawn Scalloped box card. And I just added some of the images from Over the Mountain Borders and from, not sure, I will list below which stamp set I used for the trees, but I just added a few of those, and this is what I will be using for my box card. For my red colors, I used the R30 markers, R39, R37, R35, and R32. Then I'm going in with E37 for my reindeer as my darkest shade. And off camera I also colored all of the other red areas, of course. Then I'm going in with E35 to blend out the E37 on the reindeer. And then blending that out with E33. For the face and the antlers, I'm using E31 and E30. And as you can see, I kind of forgot the E33 on the second reindeer for some reason. Again, going in with E31 and E30. And then I'm going back in with E37 and E35 for the hooves. I also used the same color combination on the trunks of the trees. And for my face, I'm just using E11 and E00. I used some C7 and C5 for the boots. And for the yellow and slash gold, I'm using Y28, YR23, just to blend that out a little bit. And then to make it look a lot more warm and yellow, I'm bringing in Y15 and then Y11 to blend it out. For my houses, I just wanted a tiny little bit of shading, so I'm just using C00. For the trees, I wanted some sort of like cracked pistachio kind of green, if that makes sense. So I'm just using G02 and G00. Since there isn't a lot of space, I didn't want to add in the G000 as well. So I just went with the two shades, but that really didn't give me enough definition, I found. So I'm also bringing in G17 as my darkest shade and just adding a few flicks of the G17 just where the shadows would be. Then I'm also using a little bit of BG000 and the colorless blender on the snow areas of the houses. And then I'm bringing in some cracked pistachio and evergreen bough on the trees. This is just the winter forest border by Fawn. And I also off camera die cut the main pieces of the scallop box card twice out of red cardstock, and I just cut off the flaps. And then I also die cut 4 hill panels, and I just used the die that comes with the scalloped box card main die set, and I just did some partial die cutting so that the hill would actually be longer than it normally is, so that I could trim the hill panel out of it. And I did the same thing for this background piece. I just did some partial die cutting so that the bottom wouldn't cut off, so it could have the panel a little bit higher than it usually would be in the box card. So I'm just using sorry, tumbler glass and some broken china. Then I'm going in with Blueprint Sketch. Blending those together. Wiping off my brush in between so I don't contaminate all of the colors. And I also added in a little bit of Mermaid Lagoon. And then going back in with Tumbled Glass just to make sure it all blends out nicely. Using the Winter Forest border to just gauge how far I need the blending to go. And when that was finished, I just used some splatters of liquid Stardust and just white paint to add some snow. I stamped the second part of my sentiment onto one of the stitched pieces that comes with the Scalloped box card die set in the VersaFine Clear ink in Tulip Red. And now I'm just assembling my card. I added some score tape to the flaps. I'm just folding along the score lines and using my bone folder to reinforce those score lines. Now I'm just removing the score tape from one of the sides of the hill panels, and I'm just adding those to the short flaps of my box, just making sure that they all line up nicely in front of each other or behind each other. Then I just flip them over. I remove the backing paper from the other side of the box, line it up. Sorry, my head's popping in there. I just had to get in close and see. Just line it up, pressed it into the adhesive. Now I can just remove the other side of the adhesive and just fold the card shut on top of those, making sure they're all lined up nicely. And then I can just remove the last piece of tape or backing paper. And that forms my card. Now I just needed to see how high I wanted my background panel to be because I needed there to be enough room so that I could add my flying Santa over top. So just used a pen to mark where I needed to trim the background panel. I just added the tree border with some liquid glue, just high enough that it would cover the score line. And then I'm just using a paper trimmer to remove the excess. Just making sure it fits nicely, and then I'm just adding liquid glue to the back. And I don't know if you've noticed, but I didn't realize until this point that my card would not have a backing. And this is where I did. So off camera, I cut another piece just like this out of red cardstock, the same I used for the box. Just used some liquid glue and lined it up on the back, trimmed off the excess, and that made the card look actually finished. Then I decided to go ahead and add the pieces for my sentiment. I just added some liquid glue to the back of the Scripty Mary that I die cut. It's also from Fawn, and I cut it out of red chili pepper cardstock and also out of silver glitter cardstock. And I'm just layering those two, that the silver acts kind of as like a little bit of a shadow behind the red. And then I'm just adding that to the white panel with liquid glue again. Then I'm also just adding glue to the back of the panel. Just making sure while I can still move it, that it's how I like it. And just adding liquid glue to the back of that and lining it up on my card front, or on my box front. It didn't really want to move, so I just had to take it up real quick and then put it down so that it's nice and centered. And then it was time to add the rest of my images into my box. At first I wanted to add the Santa and the sleigh. So I'm just using the Santa from, I think it's called Tiny Christmas. It's like one of those small sets. And I'm also adding the reindeer and the sleigh from Over the Mountain Borders. just trying to figure out how it would look best since I needed to connect them with the reins. Just quickly adding them on top of each other so that I can move them around on my card so that I know that this kind of lineup works. And then I just added liquid glue to the back to add them down. Then I wanted to add my houses. I just needed to see where they would look best. And then I'm just adding liquid glue to the edge of all of my elements and using reverse tweezers just to hold my images in place. Sometimes just, in this case, just to see how I wanted it to look. Then I'm also adding in lots of little trees to my scene. This I'm just pushing behind the house. Since the glue was still wet, I didn't need to adhere them with any extra adhesive. And now I'm just trying to see where the rest of my trees would look good. I'm sorry that this part is kind of difficult to see, but it's actually kind of difficult to see in person too, so I know what you're going through. I'm just adding them in using my reverse tweezers to keep them from shifting while the glue dries. It only takes a few seconds so that they don't move anymore. Now I'm also adding a little tree. I wanted it to go in the front of my card, but I didn't quite know where to put it. Then I decided to just add it to the first sort of hill. And just making sure it lines up between the houses. And then also adding one to the far right. Then it's time to embellish. I just used the Nuvo Aqua Shimmer Pen in glitter gloss just over all of the snow areas, on the houses, the trees, and also on the some elements of the sleigh. Then I decided to go in with some Stardust Stickles. Also, I added the Nuvo crystal glaze on the windows of my houses. And I just had a little bit of a problem getting it into the shape, so I just used a craft pick to kind of maneuver around the crystal glaze. And now, like I mentioned, I'm using the Stardust Stickles just on some elements of the sleigh, the Santa's hat, and also on the snowy parts of my houses. And I also added Stickles to all of the trees, the ones on the border, and also the stamped images. And I'm calling that card done for today. I really had so much fun making a box card. I really don't do enough of those because they're so fun to make, and I love that they just fold flat and you can just stick them in an envelope just like you would a normal card. And there you can see the shine at least a little bit from all of the stickles and also from the glitter paper. It's really hard to show in the light. And with stickles, since they need time to dry, it always shows like way more once they're dry. Thank you so very much for watching. I will link to Lien's video down below. I'm sure her box card will be amazing. I will be back tomorrow with my last day for my 2020 holiday card series. I hope you'll join me. Have a wonderful day. Bye!